Good morning. The one job I have to do at MIP is talk, and I have lost my voice. So I apologize for my very husky tones. However, I have spray, and I have some excellent guests to talk for me. This will be a terrible YouTube video, either really popular or really rubbish. Okay. So we're here to talk. Well done, everybody, for getting here at this time. Well done. We are here to talk about branded content and working with brands to make content. And our guests are Aline Bonnet, who works for Orangina. Who here is French? Good.
I know some French in his room. So.
En français. No. Orangina is the second largest drinks brand in France.
Yes, sir. The sir, but the number two in...
Advertising
in
people, she
range.
lied to me yesterday and said it was the second. It's the third.
Yeah,
Okay.
They had a bad night as well.
And Aline has a very interesting relationship with Studio Bagel, which she will tell us about in a few moments. And Peter is from GroupM. How many TV producers in the room? Okay, so you may or may not be aware of GroupM and the WPP group that own GroupM, and Peter will explain to us how they fund projects, what they're looking for in relationships with brands and producers and broadcasters. So, Aline, because I need to rest this, would you like to present
Yes, sure.
your story?
Oh. Sorry. It's early morning. So first, sorry for my English. I'm not so fluent, but so I guess that everyone will be understand. So my name is Aline Bonnet. I am media strategy manager for Orangina Schweppes in France. Orangina Schweppes is the number 2 soft drinks in the French market, with almost 20% of the market. Then I will deal with Orangina. So Orangina is the third soft drink brand, but the number 2 in top of mind after Coca-Cola in France, because it's an old brand in France with almost 80 years. So Orangina in France is really a cult brand, especially with its Bonnet. And then humor is really in Orangina DNA for decades now. You can see in our advertising history that we work with the biggest humorist as Alain Chabat. Alain Chabat is a great director now, really famous in France. We work with all these guys. The picture is really small, but now if we want to work with them, we need to pay, I don't know, maybe 100 million euros, because everyone on this picture is really, really famous. Some guy like, for example, Omar Sy is now in an X-Men movie, so not bad. Then we worked also with Jamel Debbouze. Jamel Debbouze is also really famous in France. And then Rémi Gaillard. Rémi Gaillard is one of the best YouTuber in the world with, I guess, 1 billion videos views. And then in 2012, we researched a digital territory for the Orangina brand. Before it was like crap, nothing special. Then we decided to back to the roots and to connect with our DNA, that means humorist and humor. Then we decided to work with YouTubers. We began in 2012, and we decided to work separately with 10 YouTubers. Some guys was quite famous, like Max. Max now is playing a lot of feature film. And some guy was really not famous in 2012, but most of them are on the TV now. And we decided to give them a real carte blanche. They were free to place a product in their way, and that works because we get 20 million views. Then next year, last year, the second year, in 2013, Orangina launched its new brand platform, Stay Alive, Drink Orangina. Then we decided to work with Studio Bagel. So Studio Bagel is a famous YouTube channel in France, and I look the Google guy, but I guess that it's the biggest European channel with the most videos views. And we were the first brand to create a partnership with them on the advertising. And then instead of to just push our traditional TV campaign, we decided to create with them specific content. Then when people want to watch Studio Bagel content, before they watch our advertising, but it was played and directed and produced by Studio Bagel. So for people, it was really a good content because it was advertising, but it was also a real humor content. It was really a good campaign. But what is really famous now in France, and we got a lot of prizes of awards for that, it's Mission 404. So Mission 404, it's a short movie, a 14 minutes short movie. We worked with two humorist collective, Golden Moustache and Studio Bagel for sure. Orangina was a producer. The brand was really subtle in this movie. It was only at the beginning, like every major in a movie, and we have a really funny product placement because we laughed about ourselves in this movie. It was a huge success in France. Now we have more than 5 million views and 1 million in only 5 days, and it was organic views. So it's really great for a brand, and especially for a 14 minutes short movie. You can have some figures. We get a lot of comments. Everyone said thank you to create this type. Sorry, is it me? No. Okay. Okay.
Sponsored by Nescafe.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of comments. Comments say thank you to create such a good content. It's better than we can watch on TV, on cinema. You need to understand that our target is young adults, and especially male young adults. So they like subversive topic. And in this movie, the purpose was about internet, but also when you talk about internet, you talk about porn, you talk about, I don't know, a lot of porn, I guess, in this movie. And then it was really funny for them because they understand every topic. So we get a lot of awards. Social media was great, and we got a lot of articles, and especially in TV and in radio, because it was really, really new in France. But it's, you can see one of the comments. It's really interesting for us because, as I said, the brand was really subtle in this content, but our target, they are young people, so they totally understand when a brand is involved or not. And they know normally they drink more Orangina. But it's not the end for us. Humor is really a territory. And then this year, in March, we worked with YouTube and with one of the famous French channel, W9, and we create an award, the Web Comedy Awards. So it was the first ceremony to award French YouTubers. It was a huge success, even for W9, for YouTube, and for us. And just one figure is the tweets. We get more than 100,000 tweets. That is better than French Caesar. So not bad. We were really happy for that. So what's next? This year, we'll begin to work with Studio Bagel again, because it's a great partnership. It's a great partnership because we have the same targets, the same humor, and the same way of working. We have Studio Bagel and Orangina have a really high creative expectation, so we can have a good partnership together. And then Studio Bagel will launch its first feature film for 2015, and then we decided to help them. We give to them the first funding. We will buy for all media campaign, and we will offer to them our marketing know-how, because in France we are recognized as highly creative in the media and marketing world. So it's a project for us, and it's the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, would you?
Good morning.
I can do this job now just by pointing.
He's very good at that. He's very, very good at that.
Speak.
So since he can't introduce me, I'll introduce myself. First, for those of you who are producers in the room or work for production companies or television networks or online platforms, I'm one of you. I didn't come to the agency world having worked in agencies, working for brands. I was a network television executive first. I was the president of CBS Entertainment. I was the head of sports programming for CBS prior to that. Later went to the Carsey Werner Company and produced for them. Was the CEO of the Telemundo Network Group in the US, this is Spanish language network group, and then had my own company in association with Sony. So why did I come to WPP and GroupM? Well, the famous bank robber, Willie Sutton, was asked, why did he rob banks? And his answer and my answer were the same. Because that's where the money is. The brands and GroupM have the money that basically propel the content industry. The content industry has two sources of revenue. One is advertising, and the second is subscription. And what I mean by subscription is that the consumer pays for the content directly, either by buying tickets at the cinema, or by having a pay subscription to their television service, or by having an SVOD product, they pay directly. And then there are hybrids, where there are ad-supported and pay services that are tiered and work together on the same platform, like Hulu and Hulu Plus, for example. What GroupM and WPP are involved in is the advertiser-supported content. So in a sense, when somebody says, what is branded entertainment, I say, everything that is advertised with, okay? Because everything that is supported by brands is advertiser-funded content in one way or the other. So why do advertisers fund content? Because they're Medicis and they love to support the arts? As much as we would like to give them those noble purposes, the fact is they're marketers, and they use media and content to reach a consumer and to make sure that that consumer understands the value of their product or their service. So content is part of a means of accomplishing a marketing objective. Back in the days of dinosaurs, when I was working back in television, content marketers interrupted content with commercial messages that aired in the space that was given to them between pieces of content on television or on the radio or pages in print media. With the rise of the internet, display advertising and then search advertising became ways for marketers, again, to, in a sense, interrupt an experience. But consumers are more and more empowered by technology to avoid interrupt marketing. Whether it's a pop-up blocker or a DVR or a remote control, the consumer is in charge of their media experience. So how then does a marketer reach a level of engagement with a consumer who's empowered to avoid their message? Well, one way is by creating content that is contextually relevant to their target audience, their product, and provides the right environment and the right context for them to say what they want to say about themselves. And what Aline just showed you is a perfect example of that marriage of good content, a brand that has DNA that is directly connected to the content that's being produced, and at the end provides an experience to the end user that's not a television commercial, but actually a humorous, engaging piece of content that the end user wants to come back and experience over and over again. And that's why all of those metrics were so well established that she showed you, because it wasn't something that was a one and done. The consumer came, enjoyed it, and came back to it, which for those of you who are producers and network executives has always been the holy grail. We want to create sustainable engagement experiences with our end user so that they don't just come once, but they come over and over and over again. And that's what creates the long tail value that basically propels the content industry. So for me, I was a producer when I first started thinking about getting into relationship with brands. I needed additional financial support to get my projects done. The networks only wanted to give me so much money. It wasn't enough money to get what I wanted produced and funded. So where was I going to get the money from? So I thought, oh, I'll go to the guys who have the money. I'll go to the media agencies. So what was I trying to do? I was trying to get them to spend their money on my project. Why? Because I loved my project. I spent a lot of time trying to put it together. It was a point of passion as well as a point of commerce. I wanted it to live. I wanted audience to see it. And what was in the way? I couldn't get distribution. And what was in the way of distribution? I didn't have the money to be able to do it. So I went to see if I could get media agencies who had the big pocketbooks, who had the relationships with brands, to be my partner, to help me. And they smiled at me and said, gee, that's a really nice idea, but no thank you. And I thought, well, wait a minute. This is a good piece of content. It matches to the demographic. And they said, well, that's not how brands look for content. Brands aren't looking for good content. They're looking for relationships to content that solve a marketing problem. How does your content solve a specific client marketing problem? And I kind of scratched my head. And my boss, Erwin Gottlieb, who hired me some 10 years ago, and who was one of the most respected people in the media and marketing business today, as he was then, said, Peter, we are not in the business of providing answers to questions that haven't been asked. We're in the business of articulating answers to questions that marketers need solutions for. And if content can be the vehicle to solve the marketing problem, you're in business. But it starts first with an understanding of what the client marketing problem is. So within the media agency structures at GroupM, and GroupM is a collection of 4 media agencies. I know it's amazing to think about it this way, but they all begin with the letter M. Mindshare, Media Edge, Mediacom, Maxis, the 4 media agencies. And their clients hire them to have them help them with their media strategies so that they know how to reach their consumer in the most effective way, in the most efficient way, and again, getting a high return on the money that they invest in media. That's what media agencies do. That's their reason for being. And what we created over the course of the last 10 years is a content capability that never had existed in the media agency universe before, to put content on the table as a potential solution to what the marketing problem was that the client came to the media agency to solve. But content's not the only potential solution. Sometimes it's an activation program. Sometimes it's a promotional program. So our groups come to the table when the client manager is articulating the problem for the brainstorm and first sits and really tries to understand what the marketing objective is, and then the team sits and thinks about how content might be a solution to that problem. And then, once they have the idea, then they contract with partners like Bagel Studios, who can take that brief and who can translate that potential solution into a really great, engaging piece of content. And then bring that back to the client, and if the client looks at it, likes it, believes in the budget, believes that it's deliverable, and believes that it solves the problem, we'll get the green light and go ahead. And then we will, hopefully, at the end of the day, deliver something that's on budget, on time, and solves the marketing problem. That's really, from our experience, that's the heart of the opportunity in branded content. And I think the misperception still exists in the marketplace today, just as it did for me, that there's this brokerage system out there, that there's brands out here looking for great content, there's producers out here looking for money, and that somehow this marriage is going to get made. Well, it happens, but people win lotteries too. And that's not something that you necessarily bank on to pay the rent. So I think that you have to have a very clear understanding as a producer, if you want to be in this business of providing solutions with content for brands, how it really works, and that there is a discipline, and that there is a system and a process and a structure. Because the world of marketing is very rigorous. For people who are producers and look at the world of brands as a way of solving their headaches with those pain-in-the-neck networks who are constantly seeking approvals and getting in the way of the creative process, if you haven't worked with a brand, you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay?
Very nice.
And they are very nice. But somebody said to me, why does a 30-second commercial cost as much as a 2-hour television movie? And I said one word: approvals. The process takes a long period of time because the people who are spending that money on a work-for-hire basis to solve their problem have a very strict approval process.
Of course not. Peter,
So I'll shut up.
can I, the other side of GroupM's business is that you actually invest in content directly with
Yes.
no brand. Can you?
That's easy for you to say.
Or voice. Sign up.
Yeah, so no, what Mike was trying to say is that at GroupM we look at content in two different sectors with two very segregated businesses. The first is the business that I just described to you, which is delivering creative services through agency brands as an agency capability to solve a client marketing problem. That is brand-funded content in the purest sense. We also have a separate division, what I call the GroupM Entertainment Blue Card, the blue business, which is really a rights holder aligned business, where we are working with rights holders and media platforms to create content assets that create revenue as a source of income in and of themselves. Our clients don't pay for that service. They don't pay for those properties. Those are, again, a separate business for us in the business of content. Now, in the process of doing that, we try to create advantages for our clients. And it's an advantage that they're free to choose to opt in or not opt in with on the basis of our relationship to a project that we financed and co-produced. But the bulk of what we're doing in the space of brand work is through our agencies. And again, with the express purpose of, again, making our clients rich and famous.
So, in both cases, you're both investing in productions in a way that's almost traditional, like a distributor or a broadcaster. What do you expect, except for some exposure, what do you expect to get from that investment, from your perspective?
Just first, I will answer what you say. On brand point of view, on marketer point of view, it's also really important to trust your guts, you know. Okay, you have your agency, they do a great job, but at the final, it's your decision. And then go out, go to the cinema, watch series, meet people. It's your final decision. And it's really important that brands and producers can also meet because it's branding content, it's also a human story. It's not, only a marketing story, because if everything is on the marketing side, everything is also really flat. If you want to be big, you need to break rules. You need to dare, and everything can be processed. So maybe you need to find a balance between your great advices of your agencies, but also your face.
Peter.
I completely agree. The discipline that's involved, again, is, your question, Mike, how do you measure success? Before we get involved in any kind of a project with a client, the first thing we have to agree on is what are the metrics of success? Why does the client need to do this? Is it for awareness? Is it for engagement? Is it for preference? Is it for purchase? What's the objective? Then, once we understand the objective and the appropriate media channel, depending upon who the target consumer is, then it's time for our imaginations to take hold. And especially when we're working in digital media. Because in digital media, we're not trying to fit a 30-second slot or a linear piece of time or space that we're going to occupy. We have the opportunity to create an experience that is compelling, and that is going to be something, again, that we said before, that the audience wants to come back to. And as much as some TVCs and marketing messages are clever, what people come back to are entertainment experiences that enrich their lives in some way, that give them a laugh, that give them a cry, that inform them and make them smarter than they would have been for not having heard it. So that has to be something that really is about context, not about brand messaging. And that's where, again, marketers like Aline, who have the courage to say, I understand what I have to do to get my product in front of my consumer, but I also have to engage them in a way that puts them in the place that gives me that opportunity in the first place. And I have to let go and work with creative people outside of the comfort zone of a strict marketing message to be able to do that. So the best brands, like Orangina, are the ones who are able to embrace that kind of challenge.
We have 30 seconds. Can I take one question from the floor? Yeah.
How do you localize it, since you don't just work in America? There is a whole world out there. So, for example, the commercials, once that it's okay in France, will not be okay in Iran. I don't know. So how do you see the global language and try to find the thing in common?
It is really easy for us because we work only on the French market. So yes, so it's my only target.
Well, we're a global network, so all of our capabilities exist in local territories and regions. So just because we do something in the US doesn't mean that that same project will apply in France or in Pakistan, or every one of the local markets will have their own teams working within their own language, within their own culture. Now, one of the things that is frequently misunderstood is the whole concept of global brands. Global brands are global only in terms of their potential scope, but not in how they're funded and not in how they're managed. Global brands are managed at a local level. So just because we have a personal client in Brazil who likes an idea doesn't mean that the personal client in Germany is going to want to use the same idea. And they each have their own budgets, and they each make their own decisions about what they want to do.
I'm sorry to rush you. Unfortunately, we have to end the session there. But thank you very much to our guests from Orangina and GroupM.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Peter.